Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you've never seen me before, my name is Chelsea and I write books about black girls who aren't all that nice. And this is kind of a writing update, but also just like a general life update, I guess. And it'll probably be kind of rambly, so bear with me. But I just kind of want to give you guys an update of where I was, especially since now that We Are Dying Gods is out in the world and has been for a little over a month now. I'm just kind of like, okay, where do I go next? So in my last couple of videos, I had been talking to you guys about how I was working on my next project, Project Necromancer, and like trying to get chapter 1 done and kind of the ups and downs with that. As of right now, I have a prologue slash first part of chapter 1 written. This book has been a unique challenge because one, I am writing it in first person, which is very different because if you guys have read the Wrath of the Gods series with Brandy, then you will know that that is written in third person. And so it's kind of a shift in that sense, but it's also a completely different world. So like for the last couple of years, I've been living like solely in Brandy's world, you know, the world with Brandy and Freya and Jack and the gods and the queendom and everything else. So it's kind of an interesting process to go back to the beginning and have to recreate all of those things, especially since in my mind now I'm like, okay, it needs to be different. I don't want it to be a replica of the world that I built for the Wrath of the Gods. It has to be something solely its own. And that has been a process because in the process of trying to build this world and trying to write this chapter, you know, I've been looking at new resources. I've been looking at how other people do it. I've been like, okay, how do I want to go about this? And that has been a really interesting process because as I've been learning new things and learning new like tools and new ideas of how to go about things, how to go about world building, how to go about character development, how to go about plotting, because I am not naturally a plotter. Like there are things that have to happen in the book and I know that, but I've talked about this before. I'm more like this is a journey. I know the certain stops that we have to make, but how we get there is completely up in the air. But one thing that I learned about, you know, just writing in general for myself is that if I'm going to write a series, I really want to plot out the main things of the series ahead of time instead of just leaving it up to chance. And that has been an interesting development for me just because that's not how my brain naturally works. So between that and at this point, I want to say that I have upwards of like 20 different versions of chapter 1 and they have evolved so much. And I'm grateful for the process because one thing that is true for me is that in a lot of ways, I'm a discovery writer. So every time I write a chapter and I'm like, this isn't it, I also learn a lot about the world. So that is pretty cool. So it's not wasted effort, like in the slightest, but it's also kind of frustrating to be like, you know what? I want this to be done. I want to be able to write the other parts of the story. I want to get this momentum. I want to keep moving, but to kind of be like, no, I have to get this right. I have to start it out on the right foot. And so that has been interesting. And it's been a very up and down, and it's been a lot of like just doubt of like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. And it's such an interesting thing because it's like, I know that I can. I've written 2 books and, you know, thank God, but they're being well received, all things considered. So it's just kind of like, I know I can do this, but there's also like this voice in the back of my head is like, you know, what if I can only write Brandy's story? What if this series, the Wrath of the Gods series, is the only good story that I have in me? What if no one's going to be interested in my other stuff? What if I can't do this? What if? And I just kind of wanted to share that because, you know, in some of the previous clips and stuff that I had recorded, because even though I have not updated as much as I would like to on the channel, I have actually been recording things, but I just kind of felt like I couldn't share that because it didn't feel authentic. Like I had clips and stuff of me like writing and like trying to be optimistic and positive. And while I do feel that way sometimes, so it's not completely like a facade, but like the big thing that I'm feeling right now is just kind of like unsure, you know, like, can I do this? And part of the reason that I want to do Project Necromancer before I write the 3rd book of the trilogy is because I kind of want to prove to myself that I can do this. I want to prove to myself that like this isn't the only story that you have in you, because there are so many other things that I want to write, but it's kind of like that feeling that I had before I had written We Are the Origin of, I don't know if this is going to be any good. And starting a new series, I don't know if I'll feel this way again once I start my third series in the future. But right now I'm like, I don't know if this will be any good. I don't know if people want this black necromancer who is, you know, soft and confident and at a magical HBCU and all these other things, you know. It's always, I guess, in the back of my mind that I don't know how people are going to receive this story about a black girl in a fantasy world who loves herself and is moving through the world in a way where she is comfortable in her skin and she isn't about people pleasing everyone around her. That is always in the back of my mind because I know how in the real world people perceive a black woman who is confident in her skin and does not want to people please people around her. And it's usually not well. And so that's always in the back of my mind, especially with the conversations that go on the internet and such, where it's just like people are always like, I want more black fantasy. I want more black fantasy. But then, you know, there's always that person who's like, I don't like this, or this isn't good, or this isn't that. And it's just kind of like, you know, people not even giving the book a chance, right? And always the argument of, you know, read more indie fantasy. And then the conversation of, well, people don't know about indie fantasy, or they don't know about indie books, or they, you know, don't know about anything that's not heavily marketed. But then it's also the argument of, okay, but you have to do the work. But then the flip side of that is, well, everyone's not going to do the work. And it becomes this idea of, if the people who say that they want my books aren't even going to find my books, then like, what am I writing for, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that thought isn't in my head somewhere, because it is. But then there's also the much louder voice of the reality for me. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's like I write because this is what I enjoy. This is what I want to do. These are the stories that I wanted when I was a teenager / in my early 20s. And these are the stories that I'm going to continue to write because I know that someone out there wants to read this book. And I also know that no matter when they find this book, whether it is right now when it comes out, or if it's a decade from now, or 2 decades from now, or whenever, when they find the book, it'll still be what they need. And that's the reason why I write. And I don't know if that's like confident or cocky, but that's kind of how I feel about my stories, because I want to write them in such a way where it's just like, it's always relevant. It's always something that can be connected to in a way that is meaningful, you know? And so with all of that swirling in my mind, and then also just being like exhausted. So as of recording this, today is October 4th, which is my brother's birthday. So happy birthday to him. He's probably never going to see this video, but September is very recently over, and I did a lot of events in September. I spent all of September, you know, going to different things and participating in different events, both online and in person. And I was, you know, promoting We Are Dying Gods because it just come out. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, wow, I am so exhausted on a level that I don't even think I can fully articulate to you guys. Every weekend in September, we were in a different state. And while I love that as an indie author, especially an indie author who writes Black fantasy for adults, because even though We Are the Origin and We Are Dying Gods has crossover between young adult and adult, it is very much an adult fantasy. The protagonists are adults. They're young adults, 21, 22, 23, that age range, but it is still adult fantasy. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not grateful to know that I was invited and that there are people in my circle, in my world, who want to help me promote the book and who enjoy the book. But there were also behind the scenes a lot of things that were so mentally draining, that was like, this did not go the way that I thought it was going to go. And things that as an adult, as an author, as a professional, that I kind of had to just like take in stride. But now that I'm home and I'm processing and I'm like, yeah, this is what I would do different. This is what I have to learn from the experience. It's one of those things where I'm just like, yo, I am so over people right now. Like, there's no other way to put it. I am so over interacting with other people right now. And it's exhausting because like, At my core, I'm an introvert. Like, I know I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. I talk to a lot of people a lot of the time. That is a fact. That's a reality of my life. But I'm also such an introvert. I'm just like, I just kind of want to be in my own space, and I just kind of want to mind my business, right? And it has gotten to a point where I am also like, I don't know what things are going to look like for me going forward, because there were a lot of things that happened this month, September, that I'm just like, yeah, no, never again, Lord, please. Like, never again. And I'm still processing it. I really am. And so that kind of puts me in a headspace where I'm like, going forward, I know that there are several things that I do want to do. I have talked about this before. I don't know if it's in a clip that never got published or what, but I'll say it again just in case. The things that I want to focus on are my writing, because in the scheme of all the hats that I wear, my writing has taken a back seat to a lot of it, mostly because writing is the most flexible thing in my schedule. So I'm like, I don't need anyone else to do that. It's just literally me in a room with my keyboard or my phone or a pen, paper, my Remarkable, whatever. Like, I can get ideas down whenever, however I need to. So a lot of times when I have meetings or when I have to talk to people, which is quite frequently, that is the time that gets cut into. And so this past couple of months, the second half of the year, I would really say I have done a lot better with being like, okay, no, this time is sacred. I am not going to schedule anything during my writing time. But it is also the reality that I do not write as much as I would like to. And part of that is because for me, I also need to be like in a decent headspace to write, because it takes a lot of mental energy to create, at least the way that I create. I'm not the type of person who can sit down at the absolute end of the day when I'm completely drained and be like, okay, I'm going to bang out these words. Like, I really need less on my plate. And so when I have busy days, I don't write. And because of all the things that I do, I don't write nearly as often or as consistently as I want to. So considering what my actual goals are for myself, my career, my life, me as a person, I'm like, I want to start prioritizing that much more than I already do. So that is goal number one. Goal number two is I want to create more content. I want to be more consistent on the channel. So if you guys have been around for a while, you'll know that the channel has been around for a while. And, you know, I post pre-recorded stuff like this sometimes, but not regularly. It's kind of hit and miss. And so I really want to get consistent with that, because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy uploading content. I actually enjoy, you know, editing videos and sharing them and such. So I want to make time for that. I want to make sure that I'm actually giving you guys content that you can enjoy. And, you know, there are other things that are much more minor. So everything else that are not those two things, writing and creating content, for me are gonna have to take a back seat, because I'm just kind of like, I have been running at full force for a very long time of trying to juggle a million things, of trying to juggle this channel, trying to juggle the podcast, trying to juggle reading, trying to juggle writing, trying to juggle freelancing, you know, trying to juggle the Melanin library, trying to juggle, you know, community, trying to juggle, you know, being a whole person and having a life outside of the, like, what I do for work. And it's been a lot, and I've been dropping the ball on a lot of things, mainly the Melanin library. So if you guys have been following that on socials, you'll know that I haven't posted regularly, and that has been an up and down trial. And I've gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to sit with this. I need to sit with it and reevaluate it and figure out where it's going, because I also feel like, kind of a piece of advice, if you are watching this and you're like, okay, I want to do more. Some advice that I got in the beginning, I'm not gonna say that I didn't hear it, but I wish I had heeded the advice and actually taken it to heart, is to not start everything at one time, because it's going to take more time and effort and energy than you think it will. Think of it like if you cook, this analogy might make sense, but time and effort and energy are basically like spinach, cooking with spinach. You're going to need a lot more than you think you are, you know? So if you think you need 1 cup of spinach for a recipe, I promise you're probably going to need at least 3. So that's kind of what time and effort and energy is like when you start a new project, especially when you're working for yourself. You know, you might think, oh, well, I've got a couple of hours, like I could do this, I could do that. But when you're taking it seriously and you're trying to grow a business and you're trying to do everything, because you have to be a one person show a lot of times in the beginning. I'm not gonna say all the time, but I know that for a lot of people, it starts out as a one person show and then it grows from there. It's gonna take a lot. And for me, I will say that I am in a position where I have a very small team. There are definitely people who help me, but it is not enough to maintain. There are still a lot of hats that I have to wear in order to just keep it going, not even to grow, but just to maintain. And I have just kind of gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, I have to pick a direction. I have to choose where the bulk of my time and energy is going to go. And I'm like, if I want it to be my books, if I want to be like, hey, an author is the primary hat that I wear, then I have to reevaluate how I'm spending my time. So that's kind of like where my head is at right now. So if you guys are used to seeing me kind of like everywhere on the internet, I will be honest with you, I'm taking a step back from everything. So all of my socials, TikTok, Twitter, I'm on Blue Sky and Threads now, trying out, you know, whatever is going to be the next thing, right? I am like reposting and stuff, but I am very, 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 very heavily much just kind of removed from that right now in my own little space, in my own little bubble, kind of like mentally recovering and trying to figure out what direction I want to go in. So if you know me on Discord, that is probably the best way to get in touch with me at this point. Everything else is honestly a business interaction at this point. So I am still available for freelancing services. I am picking up more editing clients recently, and part of that is because that's also something that I want to be able to do. I want to be able to work with people one-on-one. So one of the things that you will probably see me promoting a lot more on the channel is my services. So I do editing and book formatting, both reasonable prices, because everything that I do, I want it to be accessible to people who are trying to make that leap from, okay, I'm doing something that I don't want to be doing with my life, to I'm trying to do something that I want to be doing with my life. And I know that in the beginning, that does not mean that you are financially able to invest in things the way that you want to be able to financially invest in things. So all of my prices are at a point where, you know, it's reasonable, it's accessible. So if you're interested in editing, I have heard that I give really good feedback. I haven't gotten any terrible feedback from anyone as of yet. The only comment that I have gotten from my feedback is just that, wow, there's a lot to fix with the story. So I am honest, but I am kind. I will say that. So if you're interested, as always, there's going to be a link down in the description box below. I also offer mentoring services, so that kind of encompasses just like my time. So if you're like, Chelsea, I have questions. I have questions about editing. I have questions about formatting. I have questions about publishing. I have questions just about the direction of my book. I have questions about marketing. I have questions about how to start my own YouTube channel. I have questions about content creations, whatever. If you're just like, hey, I don't really know you, but I would still like to talk to you, then book an hour with me for my mentoring services. I will talk to you. We can chat about whatever you need to. My brain will be yours for an hour or however long you book with me. But yeah, I am trying to, you know, still stay accessible without overwhelming myself. Also, if you guys are interested, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/CMLockhart. And that also gets you an hour with me once a month if you're interested in that. It also gets you access to other things like early access to my videos, and it also gets writing sprints when we do them, private writing sprints. So, and it gets you access to the after chat. So if you like the weekly chat that I do with Audra, that is also something that you get access to. We will be taking the month of December off for the holidays. So November 22nd will be our last live show for 2023. So just something so that you guys know. But I feel like that's everything. Like I said, this is kind of like a rambly video. I just kind of want to talk about the things that are going on in my circle of the world, sphere, side, whatever, in my space, going on in my world. There we go. That way you guys kind of know, because I want to be as transparent as possible on this channel. And I want you guys to know that, you know, even if on the outside it looks like someone has everything together, and I don't know if I come off that way. I don't. But it's a process. It's a journey. It's why I literally call it an author journey to anyone I talk to, because there are ups, there are downs, there are deviations, there are detours. There are sometimes you have to pick a new destination on your journey. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to be focusing on my writing. I'm going to be focusing on giving you guys more content, and I'm going to be focusing on myself and my mental health. So hopefully that means that I will be giving you guys more content regularly. This is also an invitation to let me know down in the comments what kind of content you would like from me. I will probably be experimenting with the type of stuff that I'm doing and offering on the channel in the next couple of weeks, months. So for sure, let me know what you like. But that's it. If you have watched all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you. I really do. Leave a green heart down in the comments if you don't have anything else to say, just to let me know that you watched all the way to the end. And yeah, that's it, you guys. I hope you're doing well. And until next time, I hope your days are lovely and your books are full of melanin. Bye, guys.